Welcome everyone. I'm James Harris and we're here for another Timer Tip Tuesday. Again, thank you for joining us. And today's content is going to be more of advanced training. We're going to be looking at how to move your markers based on certification and or other documentation. As always, we have staff online answering questions. So if you haven't used webinar before, there should be a little questions chat panel there, and you can send questions to Michael. Michael Chisholm is my development team for the race day team, and he'll be on the back end today answering questions as we kind of go through this. So agenda. So what I wanted to talk about today, and again, this is a little bit, again, as part of our continuing education series, we do this with Timer Tip Tuesday. We want to get into more advanced topics. You've gone through your certifications and start moving the skills and the training a little bit further along. And today's a really good example of that. What we want to talk about today is those use cases where you would want to move the markers to really line up with either your certification or with signage. And we'll be talking a little bit why that matters today and what type of events that we see in our support and our feedback where it really does matter. I will also be demonstrating a tool for those timers that do their own certifications or work with certification companies. The tools are definitely advanced. The phone is a very powerful device that we have in our hands today, and you can use that to really augment your certification documents and provide that to staff. And we have a number of events that are actually doing that, and I'll be showing you an example of that today. I'll be showing you two different ways to deal with the placement. We'll be using coordinates for one example, and then I will be using Street View and all the great technology that Google brings to bear for us and how you can use that and how we use it to actually place our markers. And we recently just did this for the Donna Marathon. It just happened at the beginning of the month. And we worked with them on that. It was really a great experience for them. So why does this matter? As participants are moving through your course, they're seeing signage. You may have clocks, you may have other information that you're providing to them based on those points. And for the participant, having that line up with the GPS moment and the GPS experience is a very powerful experience. It also ties into their time and everything else is official. And it really provides for the optimal experience. With GPS, there are known inaccuracies, and we can kind of talk about that. The path that you load and whether or not you had the start exactly located correctly will affect our GPS measurement of those milestones. Whether or not you use a recording, or you're using some type of follow roads mapping technology that might be using like the center line of the road. We are based on 10-meter civilian accuracy. That's 30 feet. If you think about a certifier and how they're wheeling on course, 30 feet in terms of those points is, could be somewhat significant. The curvature of the earth, the sampling rate that you're using, and what type of technology you're using, all these things affect how well we can do in our automatic algorithms to measure those milestones. And so if you want to raise the experience and line up the visual with the audio experience that you're providing, you really need to be thinking about what we're going to show you today in terms of lining those points up. Now, I'll talk at the end of the presentation about, time value and what type of events this would be more important versus others, and when you would want to add that kind of service on. But if you really have those types of events where you want to line things up, the tools that we're going to show you today will help you do it very quickly and get it set up for your courses. So as you all know, certification documentation comes in a lot of different forms. You have your official USATF certificate documents for those courses, and there'll be all types of words as you see here. This is a Colfax half marathon that we work with, and they give you the milestones with regards to all kinds of things. It could be a pavilion, it could be a light post number, it could be a lot of different things, and I'll be talking about how the Donna event does that. So this is pretty much the way it used to be in terms of like the documentation, all very descriptive locators trying to measure number of feet past or before, north, south, east, and west of. And this is the type of language that we deal with in terms of trying to move things and get those lined up. And so today I'll be talking about the Donna Marathon. That's all they had. They didn't have the coordinates, and how we use Google tools to really line the experience up for them. The other example we see here in terms of documentation is actually a timing company that we've been working with for since the beginning of RaceJoy down in Melbourne, and they augment. So they really go out and they use tools to really grid the coordinates. And we see a number of organizations really starting to do that now, where they have these courses, but they augment the documentation with official lat-long coordinates of those milestones and really have that as part of their documentation. So I'm going to first spend a few moments talking about coordinates and how easy it is, and I'll show a tool to get those coordinates and provide that as part of your tooling. So because really today, as I said, the phone is a very powerful instrument that you have in your hand. I really like this particular app that I'll be showing you today and demonstrating, and it makes it very easy for you just to be doing what you're doing, if you're wheeling a course, certifying a course, and also dropping those pins and then being able to email those pins to yourself or to others as you're going. And we're definitely seeing a lot of certifiers are now starting to really augment their documentation and recording those lat-long points along with the information that they measured, 10 feet from this particular storm drain. So I'm going to go ahead and just bump out here for a second. So this is a tool that I like. It's called GPS Tracks. I just want to kind of demonstrate for you for a second here. This tool. So what's nice about this tool is when you're doing your setup and stuff and you're working with it, you can create different folders and organize your information in terms of those folders. And so as you see here, I've got like the RaceJoy Marathon, and I can create different folders. So what is really nice about this tool is you could just be actually out there, measuring and moving along. This is my live view that I'm seeing here right now, and I've dropped a pin. So I'll go ahead and just remove that pin. And so based upon where I am at this moment, I can just do dropping pins. I can just drop pins. I can choose the folder that I want it to go into, and I've created different folders. In this case, I have the RaceJoy Marathon folder. And then I can just start naming them as I'm out there in the field. So this is my mile 1. Save that. And so later, when I've done and I've gone through my whole course, I've dropped basically all these pins. Then it's very easy for me just to go ahead and export those pins and send those out to myself. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that real quick here. So I can create a CSV file. Just going to send that to myself. Okay. And so this is a free app. It's called GPS Tracks, and it's very powerful. They have pro versions that can do so much with this in terms of if you're doing trail races and things like that. You might use a tool like this to actually record the track. It really helps you control your sampling rate and do a lot with it in terms of those trail or off-course events where you maybe need to create paths that you can load into RaceJoy. So if I come back to my email, should be able to see that real quick here. Take a look at that. So this should have gotten just another email here. And so it sends you a nice document with your different points and the lat longs of those points, and you can even add notes as you're doing it if you wanted to. So it's a way to easily pull out and augment and provide for a list of coordinates that you have for your milestones. And what's really nice about that is what I'm about to show. It lowers the work for you as a timer. If you can get your certifiers to provide those lat longs, I'm going to show you right now how we do Space Coast and get all the points lined up to the actual points and signage that they have, and it's probably 5 minutes worth of work. So what we have in our map builders, we have this thing called Snap the Coordinates. And if you haven't played around with this, it's a pretty powerful tool. And so in any point, you can go and just type in the coordinates and hit this button here, snap the coordinates, and it will automatically move your markers to those points. And so I'll demonstrate that right now with the Space Coast Marathon. So this is an event that's been with us for 8 years, I think. They haven't renewed yet for 2023, so we'll go back to 2022. We're going to look at the marathon course, and we're going to kind of zoom in to, and I like to work in full screen mode when you're working on your maps. That's another tip for our certified timers. You'll find the experience outside of RunSignup's dashboard to be a lot better in this view here. And so I can click on here, and then I can let's just mess this up for a second. Go to somewhere else. Okay, so it's still in the wrong place, and I'm going to go back to my document. And I know I need to be at 29,390,399. 390,399 and 741,918. That looks good. Snap the coordinates, and that's it. So if you can get those types of augmented data for all your milestones, it's super simple to get everything to really line up. And your participants are going to be moving through that 5 to 25 foot window, and their split alerts are going to be sounding as they go through that point. So places where you have signage and clocks, it's a really great experience for them. Oops, I was waiting. Okay. So that's what we call coordinate placement in RaceJoy, and using that snap the coordinates tool that we provide on all the markers, and lets you just easily move your milestones to actual lap long coordinates. Now, if you don't have that type of information, like we had with the Donna Marathon today, we'll be looking at an example. You have a very powerful tool with RaceJoy, and we're a Google Maps partner. So we're not using like the Open Street View and some of the other tools. And so you're able to really combine a lot of technology that's been recorded and provided by Google over the years. And so, they're one of the only vendors that really have done this level of integration with all the geodata and actual street views, satellite views, actual street layers, and just a lot of information that you can bring to bear to really find those points without actually physically being at that location as a certifier. So it's a very powerful tool, and we'll kind of demonstrate how that could be used. So the Donna Marathon, again, had a typical certifier. It was all given in terms of these types of descriptions, and I'm going to just focus on mile 4 here today. It says it's on Beach Avenue. I got to think about being 18 feet north of an intersection, so I got to find that really quickly at Dewey's and Beach. And I actually may even get another clue here that I should be looking for a garage door at 1643 Beach Avenue. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so we're in the Donna Marathon again. We'll be working on their marathon course. Full screen this. Okay, so I know I'm going to be dealing with something around mile 4. When these are all loaded in, again, GPS measurement. If you were to recalculate all these distance markers right now, that would be based on the GPS measurement. And as I talked about at the beginning, something as simple as having your start line, your start point off, like a good amount, or just how this was actually derived in terms of maybe using follow roads, or maybe it was not a great sample that they took, will affect all the different points that we would actually put that marker based on GPS measurement. I can tell you that when we did this course on GPS measurement versus what I did in terms of setting these based upon these descriptions was definitely off. And so, the Donna Marathon really wanted that experience to be optimal. They have a very high class event, and they wanted that kind of experience for their participants. And so they took the extra time to get that information. And it does take a little bit of time. Maybe, for a big event like this with multiple courses, you might be spending, 35 to an hour and a half kind of doing the work that I'm about to show, depending upon how good the information is from your certifier. So we're going to come in here, we're going to use the street view. And I know I got to find something. It's near this intersection, so I've already got information about that, because this point could have been like totally in the wrong place, could have been way down here or something. And I know that he said it's going to be about 18 feet north of this intersection. So what I like to do is I just take my street view guide and kind of start down here, and I'm going to be moving through that intersection and start really seeing this. Now this marker here could have been totally in the wrong place, could be way down there. And that's probably what was pretty typical when I got in here. So I'm going to just kind of start moving through here, and then I can see, oh, yep, okay, I found the intersection. I'm getting good information from Google here. Another thing Google provides, if you look up here, is they're giving you really great clues here about things. And so as I move up and back here, oh, there's 1643 is right around this area. So I'm kind of thinking about a garage door here. And if I look here, you can actually see here, it's not been obscured yet. If I move a little bit further, they do obscure addresses and all. But even with that information, if I was looking for a given address, I could click on view and maps and look at this at different dates and time, which is pretty cool. But just a second, I'll show you another thing here. So we can actually, it should expand here. Let's see more dates. Yeah, so we can actually look at this in different times if you're dealing with something with certification. But what I think is really cool is if you just go and Google Map it on the address, they actually will provide you, so I'm looking for 1643 Beach, what was it? I'll give it my document. Uh, 1643 Beach Avenue, Jacksonville. And they actually show a picture of it. If you saw that just a second, it just kind of flashed by. So it definitely is a lot of just so much information out there that for me to know. When that certifier went by, he went 18 feet past this point, and he was actually saying it was about even with this garage door here. So I could take my point and just kind of line it up and look through this area and kind of get that experience up. And again, if you know where they're going to put the signage, or if you're a timer that's kind of dealing with the signage, you would probably be able to dial this in even a little bit more. Another thing I found really interesting, and again, and that's the reason why I showed all those dates, is depending on how old your course is, we saw this at Kiwa that they actually have lines on the road that they've been there and it hasn't been paved over. Some of these things that the timers do may still be there in the satellite imagery. And I think this actually was probably the certifier line there that they had left. And I thought that was really interesting because the imagery was done in April of last year. So that was kind of interesting. So with Street View, you have a lot of information at your forefront. You can really dial in and look for those clues about manholes, 15 feet past that manhole, 10 feet past that manhole. Michael's on the line. He's actually worked with a lot of big events where they've actually had to try to locate a signage on poles. A lot of times they'll try to say pole one, whatever. Sometimes those are really difficult to see, but sometimes you get lucky and you can actually see the pole number, and then you can kind of move from there and then just drag your point at that location. And let's say mile 17 was 5 feet past that pole, and so forth. So a lot can be done with this. It is a little bit more time consuming than the snap the coordinates. That's why we really recommend talking to your certifiers about just using those tools, grabbing those coordinates as they're going through it anyways, and then augmenting the documentation with that information. So again, what type of events would this really be important? And so we've been doing this for like 10 years now. We can definitely tell you that things that are dealing with qualification, where time and lining up their performance matters. Iconic events, we definitely get this a lot more support-wise with the larger events. And we have definitely seen in support, like when things are lined up, we actually get positive feedback. We get positive reviews. We get positive support emails saying how nice that was. We had an event this last weekend where that wasn't true, and it's a large event, and we get a lot of, not a lot, but just emails about things weren't right, they didn't line up, the GPS time wasn't accurate. And so what happens is the participants are dealing with their understanding of technology. They don't understand the difference between RFID and GPS like you do. And what we're doing as certified timers is trying to line that experience up as close as possible, so that you know, people feel like, wow, this technology is all working together. It's cohesive, and it works together. And you know, that can be done if you line up the markers. As we say, you know, we're not going based upon how many feet you run. We're going based upon milestones. And that's the very unique thing about RaceJoy, is that we're not how many feet you ran. It's not a training app. We're giving performance based upon milestones that timers are providing. And so our finish times will often be you know, within 30 to 45 seconds of RFID timing, if you know, the participants start their tracking as they start moving. And so, you know, really this is an area of communication, thinking about how you can communicate with race directors when possibly they should try to add this service for your events. Maybe there's a little extra kicker there for you to, you know, do that street view, especially if you don't have the coordinates. So it might be a way to augment your services, raise the bar as a timer in terms of what you're providing for your events. So that's our Timer Tip Tuesday for today. Pretty short and sweet. We wanted to really just kind of go a little bit more advanced with our map markers and the placement of markers. And so, Michael, were there any good questions for us to augment or socialize? Look. No questions today. Okay, if anybody has any questions, we'll hang on here for another minute or two. We can socialize those. Otherwise, we'll just be wrapping it up for another Timer Tip Tuesday. But yeah, go ahead and type your questions if you have any. Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be seeing you next Tuesday.
Okay, well, I think I see some new people to the channel, so thank you all for joining us. Brian and I are here to say goodbye and thank you for watching. So goodbye and thank you for watching. If you want to see more though, you can subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell and all, that way you get alerted when we post new videos. And if you'd like to click on the thumbs up button and let us know you enjoy this kind of content, we'd be very grateful for that, wouldn't we? You know it! Thanks, Brian. Always got my back.